Haven't heard from him. Good afternoon, councillors, members of the public, officers, welcome along. I declare this meeting open and I acknowledge this is Wadandi Noongar Budja and I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Councillors Brown and Warnock are on leave. I haven't heard from Councillor Hayward. Any declarations of interest, councillors? Councillor Steele.
It's a friend of mine does live on Castle Street, so I'm just going to declare
An impartiality.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. Any further? Thank you. Confirmation of the previous ordinary council meeting. Councillor Cook moves. Seconder, Councillor McCleary, all in favour. That's carried unanimously, thank you. We also have the Policy Review Development Committee. Councillor Miguel moves. Councillor Cook seconds, all in favour. Those against, one. That's Councillor Kelly. That's carried, thank you. Are there any petitions tonight, councillors? Okay, Mr Fitzgerald has requested to speak to item 10.4.1. Those who agree with that, please indicate. That's approved unanimously. Method of dealing with the agenda. Council, so far I have coming out for more discussion is 10.3.1 and 10.4.1. Are there any others that you wish to raise? That being the case, can I have someone move the balance? Councillor Steck moves. Councillor Miguel seconds, all in favour. That's carried unanimously, thank you. So we go to 10.3.1.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, but I have some questions.
Councillor Steck. I'll just get the matter on the out for discussion. Can I have someone move the executive recommendation? Councillor McCleary, second up. Councillor Cook.
I have also another motion, sir.
Yeah, that's fine. Councillor McCleary, do you wish to speak?
at this stage. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Cook. Councillor Steck, you have questions.
Thank you, sir. I'll just get the report page up on 30. My questions relate to the actual officer's report in the sense that some of the information I think is omitting. So my question is that why in the background has there not stated that between 1996 and 2014 there was 50% funding from the Western Australian Art Gallery and 50% from the City of Bunbury?
Mr CEO, do you have a response to that?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think in putting this agenda item together, staff looked at the request from Council to conduct the governance review, and we're looking at where things are sitting today, not necessarily in the past and regarding the funding models.
Further questions, Councillor Steck?
Yes, thank you, sir. Given that advice, well then wouldn't it be pertinent for councillors on making an informed decision have the full facts?
I don't think the CEO can give you any more information. Do you have further questions?
Yes, I do, sir. Just in relation to also the actual reporting itself, is council then going to go down the path of having a look at, in detail, the actual report that we received, which is quite damaging to council's operations in relation to the BRAG?
Well, Councillor Stick, it might be your opinion that the report might be damaging, but they're your words. But look, we've got the report in front of us, we've considered it, we'll debate it shortly. So what's your next question?
Well, sir, given that the article stated some of those dispositions of council, and there was no comments from you there, I formally request that we suspend standing orders, sir, because I have further serious questions.
You can continue to ask your questions, Councillor Stick.
No, sir, because I want to be at liberty to actually discuss it, so therefore I want to suspend standing orders, please, sir.
So you're requesting that we suspend, what particular standing orders would you like to suspend?
The standing order so that we do not have to go down the path of a speaker for or a speaker against. That's at liberty to me as a councillor to do that, sir.
We can get assistance for you from the CEO to identify exactly that particular standing order. I know the one you're referring to. And it's about the orders of debate, councillors. So is there a seconder to that?
Sir, I believe that we're all entitled to vote.
I'm asking for a seconder to the... Yeah, thank you. So the question is, the motion is to suspend the standing order specifically relating to the order of debate on this matter. All those in favour, please indicate. Those against? That's 5-4. That's lost. Do you have further questions, Councillor Stick?
Well, sir, given the advice from the CEO that the report is focusing on the models of currency, which is in today's light instead of previous management structures, why is it then that the recommendation still doesn't have a solid forward plan for the regional art gallery?
Well, I believe it does, Councillor Stick. I believe it does.
Well, sir, it seems to be
I'm
a
not
bit of a
going to argue
mishmash to
with
me.
you. Take a seat, please, Councillor Stick. A lot of these things you can raise in debate, and I'll now call for a speaker against. Councillor Kelly, question.
First, can we take these separately, 1, 2 and 3?
I'm happy to do that, Councillor
And
Kelly.
the second question is the current strategic plan for the Bunbury Regional Art Gallery consider the Bragg Foundation?
CEO?
Mr Mayor, unless staff are able to help me out with that, I think I might need to take that on notice. I believe that the strategic plan talks about the trust that was developed, but I'd have to double check about whether it refers to the foundation.
Just a follow-up question, if that, it's either a yes or no, I suppose, but if it didn't, for example, if this is a successful motion, would it be assumed that the strategic plan for the Bunbury Regional Art Gallery would need to be redrawn?
CEO?
If the current document is silent on that aspect, we'd determine whether it need to come back for council for inclusion to be amended or whether it can still be conducted until the next review, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. So I'm now inviting a speaker against. Councillor Smith?
Mr Mayor, just a question if I may. If we're taking these separately, is there the opportunity to speak against each of these, or do you have to speak against
I'd
the
be
whole
happy
thing?
for her to speak against whatever part of those three you wish, and then I'll put it to the vote 1, 2 and 3 separately. So do you wish to speak against it now?
Well, I wish to speak against the whole motion, sir.
Yeah,
I
go
guess
ahead.
I
Go
guess
ahead.
that's what Councillor Steck was on about, that she wanted the opportunity for those of us who wish to speak against this item to do so. Thank you. Mr Mayor and Councillors, I'm voting against this item. When I first saw the agenda item, I was reasonably ambivalent about it and its directions. But my I got really annoyed. In fact, no, I was enraged by the fact that the gallery now doesn't receive any direct money from the Art Gallery of West Australia. It has to apply like every other arts funding body in this state. So it's no guarantee, and this really is a letdown and a betrayal of all the people that worked over the years, the Manias and everybody. That was an agreement and a partnership. It was never just a one-off you will grant. It was for perpetuity virtually, that is to provide regional services to the other part of the southwest. And once again, Bunbury and its ratepayers are expected to cater for the needs of the wider region with no compensation at all from the state government. It demonstrates that without a strong independent organisation, and can I also say, any of my comments don't reflect on any of the current staff. None of them were here at the time. So my comments are not directed at anybody who's here at the moment. It demonstrates without a strong independent organisation, without the corporate knowledge that has gone past, that we know what happened in the past, that we can just give up a grant like that without a whisper, without a murmur. Now, in the old days, the Art Gallery of WA tried that on at least twice, and the then chairman of the board got on to the minister immediately and stopped it. They tried it on at least twice in my memory, and it was stopped because the independent board had the corporate knowledge to know what to do about that. I would also like to turn to the cost to our ratepayers and to reflect on, to pay tribute to the people who have forgotten on the journey to where we are now. Speak of money, the cost of the ratepayers. So I quote from the 2013-14 budget from the Bunbury Regional Art Galleries. I think it was the last budget that was prepared before the council decided to sack the board. The total income was $760,655. Out of that, $295,415 was from the City of Bunbury. The Art Gallery of WA was $180,400. That left $303,600 that was raised by the board. Now, if you multiply not even 303,000, but just 300,000 in the 5 years since the board hasn't been operating, this equates to about $1.5 million that has not come into this community and has not been used at the gallery for all the services and all the exhibitions and all the things they have to do. And this is a salient point. The current model is a drag on our ratepayers, and I don't think a foundation with no authority will do anything to remedy that. I'm also voting against this because of accountability. The board was accountable to the public, to the city, to the Art Gallery of WA. It had annual general meetings. It had an annual report. The meetings were public. Its finances were audited. And I want to know, why is there anything different between the Breck and the Stirling Street Arts Centre? Why is there a different model for the Bragg to the other two organisations? I find it incomprehensible that this city continues to cut off its nose to spite its face. And I don't really understand that. And they're most of the reasons. I could go on and on, but that's the main reason I'm voting against this recommendation, because it holds the gallery back and it's a cost to our ratepayers. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'll speak for the recommendation. I just want to take up a few of the points that Councillor Smith has raised. My understanding from our discussions last week, and Mr. CEO, correct me if I'm wrong, the city, like any other regional art gallery now, has to apply for funding, and that is new. And my understanding is that this current or the last financial year we received around $175,000 thereabouts. And my understanding is that our officers are asking for around $200,000 for the next few years. So that's a state government decision, councillors, that we have to accept. It gives us the opportunity of applying for more funding than we have received in the past. So let's hope that that is the outcome, a positive outcome for the city. But that's a state government decision. The board, the previous board wasn't sacked. The previous board was discontinued. There is a subtle difference between the two words. And as far as accountability is concerned, this is the accountability sitting around this table. We are accountable for the Regional Art Gallery. We meet on a fortnightly basis. People in the gallery are watching, people at home are watching. We are very transparent. We are fully accountable for all the decisions we make, whether it's the art gallery, basketball, sports centre, whatever it is. We are fully accountable for all those decisions because people can see it and hear it or listen to it. So this robust report was a request from council some months ago. We've gone through the process. We've got the outcome. Obviously, we've got a new art gallery director in place. She's full of passion, full of ideas. We've got a very competent manager who's been in place for some time. So the staff are doing a great job in my view. The art gallery is performing admirably. In addition to all the exhibitions, there's a raft of other programs that occur over there and will occur into the future. So from my point of view as Mayor, I think the art gallery is operating really well. The funding model has been changed by the state government. Let's hope that we're successful. I can't see us not being successful, but time will tell. Is there a further speaker against? Councillor Steck.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Well, some of that is partially true and some is not. What I think Councillor Smith was referring to was in the past, Council had an agreement with the Western Australian Arts Galleries that we were the regional gallery of the Southwest. We did not have to go put our hand out the same as everybody else in the state. My point is that when Council took over the BRAG, because it was a Council decision to disband the BRAG board, so whether you want to call it sacking or whatever, it was a Council decision to move the board aside and disband it. Now with that came no advocacy from this council to anyone in state government to continue that agreement since 1985 of continual funding. Now, you can say to me, well, okay, there's a new program coming, and I'm aware of that, but there was no advocacy. And that is the problem with the board today. The staff might be good, they might be enthusiastic and good at their jobs, but there is absolutely no advocacy for any guaranteed funding or extra funding for this council for BRAG. Now that includes federal funding grants, that includes private galleries, other state galleries across, internationally as well. And for the fact of the matter is, I don't see that, given the fact that we are funding at least double the amount that we used to, we're getting double the amount of patronage through the doors. We've also lost that mantle or the polish of being that regional art gallery. Because some people think Collie's picked it up. We used to have a model that no one else could take. No one. But now, anyone can take our model and set it up even at Bridgetown. So I urge councillors, and it's not funny, it's seriously not funny. What we've lost is the historical value of the arts in this community, and we've chopped it in half. And then we've said, okay, we're going to double the funding, and the poor old ratepayer is going to pay more. $700,000, if you think that that's a good outcome, that's a serious negative outcome financially. Serious negative outcome, considering that the board used to fund at least $300,000. And I don't see, no offence, Chairwoman of the Stirling Street, I don't see them getting $300,000 in funding. I don't see the Bunbury Regional Art Galleries advocating for $300,000 worth of funding. And more importantly as well, who's actually donating to the galleries anymore? Because why? No one trusts council. And I urge you councillors to seriously consider what you're doing. And I think what the best outcome would be is for the council itself to authorise the CEO to come back with an autonomy model of operations for BRAG. No different than the entertainment centre. Because quite frankly, if we don't go down that path, all we're going to have is an open chequebook without accountability. Because if you try and put a handful of people together to go and simply say, well, you can be the advocate for the city, where is the accountability for funding? Where is it? And you can say, well, okay, the accountability is in this room. but it's not. It's not, because it's in the hands of staff and it's not in the hands of the board. They can't go and apply for the funding. They cannot. So this is seriously wrong if you go down this path of continuing this model. This is a bad business model.
Speaker 4. Councillor Kelly.
Mr Mayor, because they're taken separately, I'll speak for number 1, and then I'll explain number 2 and number 3. I happened last night to go back to the Alexander report and reread the Alexander report, which basically began the history of this situation, where that report made certain recommendations that wherein themselves were rather benign. It was the way the Alexander report was phrased in the criticism of the BRAM back in that day that caused 12 months of huge angst in 2013 and then into 2014 when the board ceased to exist. For number 1, receiving the Bunbury Regional Art Gallery Governance Review 219 as presented is not a problem. I'm happy to receive a report, read it and see what it says. However, with number 2 and number 3, I'm afraid I can't support either of those, because I think that in some terms it's an appeasement to what's happened over the last 5.5 years since BRAM ceased to exist. And I also think that 2 and 3 are set to fail.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Morris.
I'd like a ruling in relation to how we can allow a person to speak against the motion, even though we're voting 1, 2, and 3. So I just need a ruling from the chair on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I can see what Councillor Kelly's doing, and everybody else in this room can see it, Councillor Morris. So Councillor Kelly, continue, but I'll be making a ruling on the next speaker. Go ahead. You're now speaking against this motion.
No, I'm speaking against number 2 and 3, Mr Mayor, not number 1. I said I would speak for that. And I won't dawdle then. I think that the Art Gallery, unfortunately, and Councillor Smith and Councillor Steck have very well elucidated what has occurred. It's limped along for 5.5 years, and no, I don't think it was sacked. In the end, it was executed.
Speaker 4, Councillor McCreary to close. No, you're not. Councillor McCreary to
Well, I'd like to
close.
speak for number 1, then I'll do what Councillor Kelly did, if we can get it around it
Take
that way.
a seat. Thanks,
No, I'd like to
Councillor
speak
Steele.
for.
Take a seat. Councillor McCreary, close the debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And Mr Mayor has said most of what I was going to say, but
I'd
I
like
just
to move
feel...
that the Mayor's decision there be voted against. Thanks. I need a second to that.
I'll second that.
Okay, Councillor McCreary, you're closing debate. Continue.
That's
Sorry,
actually-
sir, point of
that's-
order. The process is once there is a formal motion against your decision and your ruling, and a seconder prevails, there needs to be a vote formally from all the councillors in this room.
Take a seat, Councillor McCreary. So
G, standing order.
once the mover has started to close debate, there's no further. Okay, all right. The advice from the CEO is I'll put it to the vote. So you, who moved that?
I'm actually going to leave the meeting.
So, sir, do you want to have a quorum?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Councillor Steele and Steck have left the meeting. Did you move the ruling to disagree with Councillor Kelly, and who seconded that?
I did, Mr Mayor. I'm not sure who seconded it though.
Who's now left? You'll second it? Okay. All right. Those in favour that the Chairman's ruling...
I've got ability to speak to the motion according to
Mr. Mayor,
Let me just check that,
I believe
Councillor
it's a
Kelly.
procedural motion and there's no debate.
Let's have a seat.
So, all procedural motions, including
Procedural motion, not replying, who may move.
so all procedural. So no debate. The mover may speak for no more than 2 minutes.
2 minutes, councillor Kelly.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I won't dawdle on this one either. I think that it points to a failure in our standing orders whereby when an item is split on the agenda, 1, 2 and 3, that there may be good reason for a person to use their ability and their debating skills to argue for one point out of the 3 and at the same time argue negatively against the second one and possibly positively for the third. I think that it relies upon the wisdom of the chair to be able to ensure that people are heard in debate. It's one of the failings of city councils and councils around the place is that it does go in order, and therefore you don't hear every argument that can be put for or against an item. Standing orders, fine. We live with standing orders, hence this ruling of the presiding member be disagreed with as an okay standing order. However, having somebody speak to one part of a motion and then against the other should be allowed, and I think that the wisdom of the chair should prevail and allow that. So that's it.
I'll put it all in favour. The chairman's ruling to disagree.
Excuse me,
Please
Mr. Mayor.
indicate.
Question? Can you just recap what we're voting on?
My non-acceptance of councillor Steele's attempt to do what councillor Kelly got away with. So all those in favour that the chairman's ruling to disagree with, 1, 2. Those against, that's lost.
Do we record the votes?
Councillor Kelly, we always record votes, councillor Kelly.
Thank you, just making
Councillor
sure.
Kelly and councillor Smith were for, the rest were against, and councillor Steck and Steele had left before that vote was taken. Councillor McCleary, close debate, please.
Thank you,
on this
Mr. Mayor.
particular matter.
You could almost thrown me back until 2013-14 was when I was first councillor, and this was virtually one of the first things that was on our plate when we came. And I just feel that tonight I would like to remind people that we're not arguing about what happened then. We're not voting on what we did or didn't do at that time. We are speaking of what the executive recommendation is tonight. And what I've only heard tonight is an argument that we did 5 or 6 years ago. So I really feel it's rather unfortunate that we haven't travelled through with our brag in what has been happening and the positive things that's been going on since it's been under management of the city. And I feel very strongly that it's going forward in leaps and bounds, and to have number 3 here, that we are going to be involved as elected members. We are going to have technical experts and members of the public to develop draft terms of reference for the establishment of a brag foundation. Who knows where that goes? This is the new city. This is 2019, 2020 and beyond. This is not 2013 rewound. So I would like us to move forward and urge our councillors who are left here to vote for the executive recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, we don't have a quorum at the present time, so I don't know if councillor Kelly's coming back or he's just taken a comfort break. Would one of the officers mind just checking?
That's happening. If when we do get a quorum, we're still voting on those 3 items separately.
Yeah,
Thank you.
once we get 7 elected members. It's an appalling. So, councillors, I'm glad the public gets to see what just occurred. I'm glad the public who are viewing this get to see what just occurred. So we don't have a quorum. I'll wait for the CEO to come back and inform me that the 3 councillors don't intend coming back.
No, I'm not coming back, sir. But I'm in the building, so I need to remove my belongings.
What's the advice?
My advice was if they're in the building, they should be in the chamber. I think they've elected to leave the building.
Okay, so we don't have a quorum, so I'll close the meeting at 5:58 PM. And my apologies to the general public for witnessing that, which I can only describe as a stunt.